Good evening, everybody. Rob here, WesternPacificWeather.com. Currently right around 1800 Japan Standard Time, about 1700 Philippine Time. That's right around 09 Zulu for the rest of you worldwide. We are closely watching 15W here, or MEGI, or JUAN, depends on your location. Moving off to the due west basically right now, about 12 knots in a very strong system at this point with sustained winds about 145 knots. So this inner core eye right in here, a very dangerous and destructive situation. Right now turning up waves near the center about 35 feet, so very strong and dangerous storm. Its current location is about 400 kilometers east-northeast of Aparri, Philippines, right in here in northern Luzon. System is tracking to the west right now, expecting actually to steer a little bit farther to the south, making landfall just south of Aparri on the northeast coast, right in this region. We'll get a little more into that here in a moment. But right now, though, the overall convection in the center of the storm, shown on the enhanced IR here, is dangerously strong with very cool cloud tops all around the center of the eye here. This is just showing that these cloud tops are straight up to the tropopause right in this entire region, which shows that this storm is exceptionally strong with a really good convection and overall outflow associated with this system, especially on the eastern periphery, is very good, and down the equatorial region right in here. Some good inflow as well. A little bit of dry air to the south, which is keeping the system slightly at bay in this region, but overall, though, very good organization in all regions, and this system is not one to be taken lightly. For example, let's put out some names for this system. In the Atlantic, we would call this a Category 5 typhoon or a Category 5 hurricane. Here in the Philippines and much of the Western Pacific, it's called a super typhoon, and in Japan, JMA actually is classified as a very intense typhoon. So overall, though, guys, this is one very destructive situation right now. And on that, though, let's look at JMA's official forecast rate in here. Central pressure rate at 910 HPA, so a very deep system. Moving off to the west right now, this system is expected to make landfall sometimes tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon in northeast Luzon here. And moving on to JTWC forecast, showing winds at 145 gusts to 275 knots, a slight weakness just prior to landfall rate in here, but expecting landfall tomorrow morning prior just before noon. But tropical storm force winds and typhoon strength winds are going to onset much prior to that. I would expect tropical storm force winds to start setting in overnight tonight, with typhoon strength winds setting in, especially in Santa Ana up in here by tomorrow morning, and much of the east coast right in here. Definitely going to see those winds setting in as well in the smaller communities right in here. But the largest city of Aparri up here on the northern coast, the big concern right there is going to be the storm surge. Moving on to this map here, the storm will be making landfall just south of Iligan Point, right in this region here, is marked right on here in red. Now, the storm surge is going to be moving off the coast here, off to the east here, as shown on the last couple updates. But I already noted, though, we're going to have some fairly strong winds coming in due north onto Aparri, which is actually located right here. Now, this is a very dangerous situation. Some of these winds can actually even be enhanced due to funneling to these islands up just north here. But overall, though, some very dangerous, strong winds right in here, and also the chance of storm surges are going to be fairly strong in that entire region as well. So if I was living in any of these areas right in here, basically along the coast about a mile inland, I would take heed and evacuate inland from these possible storm surge that will be popping up from the system. But the system will be making landfall right up here to the northeast as a strong super typhoon. So still, everybody even in these area right in here needs to definitely watch out for strong winds and associated waves near the coast here. But also moving inland, though, the storm is expected to weaken gradually as it moves across, but still going to be typhoon strength actually as it exits on this side of the coast right in here. So you're also going to actually expect to see some storm surge right in this entire region as well after the system moves off the coast, as it'll still be the equivalent of a Category 2, possible Category 3 hurricane in the Atlantic right here. Still makes it a fairly strong typhoon after it exits the island. And last, as already noted in the previous updates, the possibility of landslides is going to be very high in the northern coast and deforested areas. But the good news, if any good news, is that the system is moving relatively fast, right around 10 to 15 knots. So this should actually lessen the chance for flash flooding, but there still is that strong chance there, and also due to the heavy rainfall overall associated with the system, as it is a very intense cyclone. This entire area, basically north of this line, I would expect to just be prepared for any flash flooding and throughout throughout that area. But to the south of that, though, the flooding is still a high probability, and also in low-lying areas and valleys and low rivers, you're also going to see that. But another big note to show that, especially in the outer rain bands along the southern periphery, and even as far north as southern Taiwan up in here, you can also see some possible tornadoes and embedded thunderstorms in those outer rain bands, which are actually shown on the satellite. As these areas right in here, the outer rain bands, and also to the north, all the way up here, you can also see these outer rain bands. But after the storm passes, you still have this large inflow area with the outer rain bands. So these areas can enhance embedded thunderstorms with some possible fast-moving tornadoes that would be hard to detect due to the rain showers actually shrouding them. Another thing I do want to note, though, is that the onset of winds are going to be rather quick. You can see that actually on this Viz satellite imagery right in here, that the clouds are actually very organized tightly around this. So once you start seeing that tropical storm force wind setting in, it actually is going to set in rather quickly up to a typhoon strength. So don't be too lackadaisical right in here. Make sure you start taking cover tonight and be in a safe place by this evening. I want to note that on the ground reports can be checked at typhoontheory.com. There's actually a chaser here right here in this region, so definitely just another thing to note if you want to see some on the ground videos there. Check the website. Moving on, though, I want to show you this model in the long range out for East Asia. This is showing the GFS model 0Z run. This is just the initiation rate in here, but moving on farther, this storm is going to be reorganized out here in the South China Sea, and it's even going to deepen more, becoming a super typhoon once again out here in the South China Sea, and eventually making landfall here in Southeast Asia as a super typhoon. It looks like that's what the forecast is showing out right now. Anywhere from Hainan up towards Taiwan and even Vietnam possibly under the gun. But this particular model, GFS, is actually making it landfall near Hong Kong here, a very populated area. But also want to note, though, that overall this entire area here in Southeast China already suffering major from floods recently, from monsoonal rains, and the last several storms that encountered this entire area in here. They can't quite catch a break. So another thing to note here, I know all eyes are on the Philippines, but looking out, though, over the next several days, this entire area in here needs to keep a close eye on MEGI as well. But that's going to be all for this evening, everybody. If you have any questions, please check westernpacificweather.com. You can ask me there. Also find me at storm2k.org. I do want to stress to follow your local emergency procedures, and make sure if you're here in the Philippines, listen to Apagasa and their warnings that they're putting out. Definitely need to listen to your local news as well for any emergency evacuations or news that will be coming out on this storm. So keep on checking the official track as well, and stay safe out there, be precautious, and have another update possibly again later this evening or by tomorrow morning. So once again, stay safe and have a good night, everybody. Bye.